Alright lads, so here we are for round 6 of the F1 2014 career mode here in Monaco. As you can see, we've got a fairly wet session on our hands here. I believe the entire weekend is set to be fully wet, so heading into qualifying and the race, we need to save as many sets of intermediate and wet tyres as we can. So I believe we've only got 3 sets of wet tyres available for the whole weekend and 4 sets of intermediates for the whole weekend as well. So it's going to make things very interesting in terms of balancing out the tyres. So we'll need to use as little sets as we can heading into those crucial sessions of the weekend. So in terms of the setup, we're going to run with the maximum downforce available, just like we did in the gameplay driving as Jules Bianchi in the Marussia. I felt like high aero is definitely the way to go around Monaco. The rest of the setup is pretty much what you'd expect for a 2014 setup, going full qualifying setup. And there, as you can see, just showing how many sets we have available for this weekend, so we'll need to be very careful how many sets we use. We do have an R&D session or an objective to complete in this session, so that'll give us an extra set of tyres to use in this practice session. So we'll use that to sort of get a feel for the track and the conditions, and maybe make some setup changes if the track warrants it. But so far, we're doing fairly well. I think the R&D lap time or target time was actually very hard to get, because the lap time was actually set to be for the dry conditions, but in the wet conditions it made it just a little bit harder to achieve the under 126, and we just did that. I think by passing the objective we get 10% more mechanical grip, so we'll see how that goes. Fast forwarding to the end of the session now, we can see the track is still wet. I wanted to do a dry run at the end of the session just to see how the conditions are, or how the track is in the dry, just so I can have a sort of gauge as how the car feels in low fuel conditions. But unfortunately we just couldn't get that lap time in, and I think we'll end up in first place at the end of the session. I think a lot of the other AI cars as well are sort of saving their tyres for qualifying and the race, so not too much running getting done in this session. As you can see, topping the session by 3/10 over Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg in third place as well. Fernando backing up myself in fourth as well. So it looks like Ferrari does have a decent amount of speed at this track in Monaco. It seems like this car has a decent amount of rear traction, so that should help us in this round. As we can see, cutting to qualifying 1 now, we've got a dry qualifying session so far. We're going purple to the second sector intermediate. We've got Max Chilton getting in the way here. We'll try and get past him if we can. Doesn't look like he's held us up too much. As we come up to the line, we might go purple here at the end of Q1. 17.7, only a tenth faster than Nico Rosberg in the end, and that got us through to Q2. I was fairly confident in my pace around here, so I only decided to do the one run in Q1. Cutting to Q2 now, and my engineer told me that rain is scheduled to come down by the end of the session, so this is the very start of Q2. I put on a new set of option tyres. I'm just going for a blast now to get a lap time in, and I think one lap, if it's good enough, it should be able to get me through to Q3, and we'll have a lot of option sets to use in the race. But I'm not too sure if we'll actually get to use those though, because of course the race is going to be wet. So a lot of variables to come up through this race. So far on this lap, it looks like it's fairly clean so far, and we might go to the top here on a 1:16.4, and we smash out that lap time, whole second faster than our previous best in the last session. And I think that should just about get us through to Q3, as it did rain at the end and no one was able to better our time. A second faster than Rosberg in the end there. That's a little bit disappointing for those guys, but now we're here in Q3. It is intermediate conditions now for this final session, and I'm not as confident in the wet as what I am in the dry, so I'm not too sure if I'll be able to get pole here, but I'm going to do my best to try and do that. Ideally, I'd only like to use 1 or 2 sets here in Q3, and then save at least 2 brand new sets of inters for the race. So here we are at the end of our lap here. This is our first lap here in Q3. We've got 99% wear on the intermediate tyres. So for whatever reason, we got some wear on those tyres in practice maybe, but coming across the line, we do a 1:24.4, and we go on for another lap, because that lap wasn't the best. I was only using standard revs throughout that lap, and then at the end of the second lap, we go 7/10 faster, and I think that just might be good enough to get us near the front of the field, and I decided not to run for the rest of the session, and it was just about good enough to get us pole position. I think it's our first pole position this season, so fairly good showing so far. And heading into the race tomorrow, we're looking really good. Alright lads, so here we are for the race, and as you can see on the car, the wet tyres are on standby for the start of this race. So that's pretty telling. At the start of this Grand Prix, we're going to have some pretty torrential conditions to deal with. That may affect my pace a little bit, as the AI seem to be very OP in the wet. We'll need to manage that. As it stands, it looks like we're going to do a one-stop, stopping on lap 39. I'm not too sure if we can make that last, but in saying that, if the track does improve, then we probably will switch on to intermediate tyres even earlier than that. So I'm hoping it does dry out, because I do feel a little bit more comfortable in the dry. So we'll see how that goes. We pretty much need to get into the lead from the start, and then pretty much control the pace, try and save some fuel and the tyres a little bit if the tyre wear is bad enough. The setup is pretty much exactly the same as it was in practice. So heading into the race, another crucial race of this championship. Let's get this race underway. So here we are in Monaco, my favourite race of the season. We're starting from pole position, and now we're just waiting for those 5 red lights to go out, and away we go here in Monaco. Looks like the start has got off really badly. There's just so much wheel spin everywhere. It looks like Hamilton has taken the lead though into turn 1, going around the outside, and then he backs out of it, gives us the lead once again, and we control the pace from the front of the grid. We can see Fernando Alonso is maintaining his position in third so far. So the start hasn't been too bad, to be honest. Hamilton really should have taken his chance there, and he probably would have grabbed the lead of the race and probably would have bolted, because I don't really feel 100% comfortable here at the start of this Grand Prix. But so far I'm just going to try and manage the pace, try and save a bit of fuel, and look after those rear tyres, because we do have to take them just about halfway through this race. So it's going to be really crucial for our race here if we don't burn up those tyres too much. So far it looks like we're just about maintaining that lead. Hamilton hasn't got too close to us just yet. In saying that, now he's got a decent run coming into the Nouvelle chicane. Looks like he might go up the inside, but then he tucks back into the racing line there. So for the next couple of laps, I think we're just going to run with lean revs until we can get our fuel to about optimal, maybe even +1, and then once we start to feel more comfortable with the tyres and the temperatures and just the whole track and everything, we'll start to up the tempo, and we'll see if we can't pull away from the cars behind us. We can see on lap 5 we've got Vettel, who has jumped Alonso for third place. So it looks like the Red Bull, with its downforce, is very quick at this phase of the Grand Prix. We've actually gone optimal on our fuel now, so now I think we can afford to up the tempo a little bit, cutting to lap 6. We see we've done that now. We're going purple by 7/10 over our previous personal best. On lap 7 we can see going through to back there, almost losing the back end there at high speed. Even with our high aero here, we're still losing the back end just about everywhere. We really do need to manage that throttle through most of the corners around this track. And on lap 8 we're continuing to move forward in this race, setting purple lap times just about every lap as we up the pace now. Lap 16 we can see we've got Vettel now, who's got past Lewis Hamilton now, and he'll be one to watch as we head into the next phase of this Grand Prix. So 16 laps done, we can see getting a poor exit off the final corner, and Sebastian Vettel goes into the lead of the Grand Prix on the start-finish straight. It just seems like he had superior traction there, and that Red Bull is really working well here in the wet conditions at Monaco. I think you'd expect it to do that as well, with the amount of downforce that car can generate, and also with the way the AI work. They do have effectively do have traction, so it's very hard to stay with these guys, especially as my tyres start to go off. So here on lap 18, I think we're trying to stay with Vettel if we can, going purple to the second sector intermediate, but it's not quite good enough. We can see Vettel is now extending the gap now as we cut to lap 26, losing the back end as we overtake Max Chilton, who goes a lap down halfway through, or just about halfway through this race. And on lap 28, I think we're getting told by the engineer right now to switch to intermediate tyres. It's finally taken just about halfway through this race for us to switch to the inters, and now we'll see just how we stack up against the rest of the cars in this field on the changeable conditions. So the drier it gets, of course, I think the more in phase we'll get with the track, and the quicker we'll be in comparison to the rest of the AI. We got a 3.7 second pit stop there, but then it ticks over to 6/10, so I'm not too sure what the deal is there. I actually think it did that a couple of times throughout the pit stops in this race, but rejoining on the track, it looks like we're going to rejoin in second place. I think pretty much everyone followed me into the pits there, except for Vettel, who's pitting on the end of this lap for his set of intermediate tyres, so we might catch him by a few seconds. And as you can see, we've got the gap down to 8 seconds now. As we can see, we're lapping Jules Bianchi now for 19th place. I think this is the second time he's getting lapped, and he's not really leaving us any room there. That's very, very clumsy there from the lap car. And I think on F1 2014, the way that, oh geez, look at that rear end sliding as we go through the swimming pool section. Yeah, just as I was going to say before, I think the AI cars are really bad at letting you through this year. It just seems that they park it on the apex and just hold up everyone. As we can see, holding up everyone, it's Romain Grosjean, who was in 22nd place. He's been overtaken by the Caterhams and the Mauritius rather, and he's having a very bad day indeed. So lap 41, we've only got 37 laps to go in this race, and it's still a wet track. We can see we're going around the outside of Magnussen, who's having a very bad race as well. So we could see one or two Mauritius or Caterhams here fairly well up the order here in this race. But lap 42, we can see we're lapping Esteban Gutierrez there, and that is a prime example of how the AI should let you past when they're a lap down. But either way, we won't get into that. Hopefully that's sort of rectified for F1 2015. But now we're getting past Felipe Massa. It seems there's a bit of a train here in the midfield, and it just held us up a little bit trying to get around these guys. And again, Massa parking it on the apex like a few other cars have just done. It's just so annoying. Why not just wait until you get to a straight to let us through, and then it doesn't really hold up anyone. But lap 44, we have a safety car for whatever reason. We're actually going purple on that lap, so the track conditions are now starting to improve, and now as the tyre wear starts to kick in, I think some cars, or one car, has been caught out by it and has possibly crashed somewhere along the track. I actually thought about coming in for a pit stop there, because we were getting close to where the intermediate tyres needed to be changed, but in saying that, the track was only about maybe 5 or 10 laps away from needing dry tyres anyway. So I thought, I'll keep the track position, I'll stay out for another 10 laps if we can, and then we'll switch to the dry tyres at pretty much the same time as everyone else. We'll play it safe here because we need to get some good points. We're in front of the Mercedes as it stands at the moment, so I'd like to sort of maintain that track position if I can for the moment. And now lap 47, we can see the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. We've got a few lap cars in between myself and the race leader Vettel, so we'll need to contend with those guys as we get ready for the restart here. And hopefully Chilton just pulls out of the way on the straight here, and we can just focus on trying to attack Vettel. Already you can see off the restart the tyres are a little bit cold, losing the rear end on the slower corners out of the final corner, and Vettel already has a 3.6 second lead due to having those lap cars in between myself and him. And I think for the rest of this stint, Vettel was slightly faster. I think a few patches of this race I did set purple lap times, but overall I think Vettel was just a little bit more consistent than what I was at this phase of the race. Lap 52, we can see the track is just about ready for dry tyres. Grosjean parking it on the apex. Once again, what is going on with these AI cars? That is such a stupid place to let someone through when you're just parking it on the racing line there. I just had to avoid him there. And on lap 54, I think we're coming in for a pit stop now. You can see the intermediate tyres are clearly struggling to grip in with the road. We're starting to lose a little bit of time to our previous laps. So when that happens, when you start to lose time on your previous laps, when you're not making mistakes, it means it's definitely time for a new set of tyres. We can see we're actually holding Vettel in the pits there, and our pit stop is how many seconds? 3.7 seconds. So once again, fairly standard stop there. We managed to hold up Vettel there for a few seconds, so that's going to make us a little bit closer to him in the context of this race. So this is pretty much a 24 lap sprint to the finish here on option tyres. We should just about be able to make it. It might be a little bit dicey as we head to the last 3 or 4 laps, but we'll try and get Vettel as soon as we can. By getting track position early, we can pretty much park the bus at the end of the race and manage the tyres at the end there, like we did with the Marussia a few weeks ago. So we'll try and do that. We can see on lap 57 we've already caught up to the back of Vettel, going up the inside into the Lowe's hairpin, and that is for the lead of the Grand Prix. Clean move, as you can see on the replay, going up the inside. Vettel just left the room, didn't really fight it there. He knew we were a lot faster, and that's us into the lead of this race. For the next 20 laps or something, I want to push, try and build up a margin, and then really save the tyres in the last 5 laps or so. So lap 61, you can see we're going purple there on a 16.4 and continuing to stretch that margin out now. I just love putting in qualifying laps, lap after lap here. We can see we're lapping Max Chilton once again, only a couple laps later, and he retired from the race there. He parked it on the apex of the escape road there, and we had a safety car because of that. So once again, I think we'll come in for a set of option tyres here. I thought, we've got a 9-10 second lead here. We may as well come in, put on a new set of option tyres. We've got the pace anyway. I think we can repass Vettel, and we should be able to easily get to the end now of one set of option tyres. The stop is once again 3.7 seconds, and judging by the gaps, it might mean we rejoin in second once again. There may be 1 or 2 lap cars in between myself and Vettel, but I don't think they'll pose too much of a threat. They'll just pull out of the way pretty much straight away as we rejoin after the restart. So 14 lap sprint to the end should be fairly easy. We have saved a bit of fuel in this race because of the wet conditions at the start, and now getting ready for this restart. We can see Marcus Ericsson pretty much pulling out of the way there, and now it's pretty much a straight fight between myself and Vettel. The gap is 1.6 seconds, and we'll just see how quickly we can catch Vettel here off the restart here, putting it up into fast. We'll try and catch him as soon as we can. As you can see here, just carrying so much more speed than Vettel. We can see we've pretty much already halved the margin down to about 8 tenths. Yeah, 9 tenths already. We're going purple even after this restart here, and we're right on the back of Vettel here. So it's only going to be a matter of time before we pass him and then sail off into the distance for this race win here in Monaco. So as we catch up to the back of Vettel, the dirty air is now starting to play a little bit of an effect on our car here, and it's just making that overtake just a little bit harder to execute here. But lap 68 coming through to back, we're really close to Vettel now, and because we got so close to him there, it actually unsettled the front of the car there, so we had to catch the slide there. And now coming off the exit of the final chicane, we're going to pass him coming into Raskas if we can. He leaves the room, and there we go, into first place. With only 10 laps to go, it should be a fairly easy sprint to the finish there. And as you can see, Vettel just taking the sidestep there and let us overtake him once he saw we were going up the inside. So lap 69, I'm trying to push on here, trying to get a fastest lap. And as you can see, getting millimeter perfect up against those walls. So you got to make this track as wide as what you can to really carry as much exit speed as you can off some of these corners. And so far it looks like we're going to smash our previous personal best. I actually think we improved so much that it was actually faster than our best qualifying time, a 15.5 there, and now cutting to the final lap. I saved a little bit of tyres and fuel, and we're actually going for a final blast here on the final lap, seeing if we can't improve our previous personal best. So at the moment the gap, I'm not too sure what it is. I think it's about 10 seconds or more. So we've pretty much easily got this race win here in Monaco. Just need to make sure we don't make any mistakes here. But for the final 10 laps, I was really having to go at trying to just go as fast as I can. I was really in the groove here. It really does make for driving around this track really enjoyable when you've got fresh tyres on, low fuel, and you're just pretty much concentrating and just not making any mistakes. It's I don't know, it's hard to describe, but it's really fun. Probably the most enjoyable track on this game when you're pretty much in the flow around Monaco. As you can see, 6 tenths up on our previous personal best through the middle sector, and catching up to another Marussia. I think that's Bianchi. We run wide through the final corner, so that's pretty much game over in terms of bettering our previous best lap time. But anyway, we come across the line. We've got another win here in Monaco, and I think that's going to put us in with a really good shout of being within striking distance of Lewis Hamilton in this championship. Fernando Alonso, our teammate, finishes 4th. As we can see, Nico Hülkenberg is finished on the podium as well, with Sebastian Vettel 18 seconds back in 2nd place. And I actually can't see any Mercedes finishing in the points. So for whatever reason, the two Mercs have come together, or maybe not come together, but they've had their set of issues, and they've not finished in this race. That's going to do us a world of good in the driver's standings. We can see Chilton, Hamilton, Massa, and Rosberg not finishing in this Grand Prix. Romain Grosjean 6 laps down. I believe he had some kind of brake issue because he was going really slowly into some corners over the course of this race. And my engineer is going off his tree in the background. I don't know if you can hear that, but we are now into the lead of this championship here in 2014. Lewis Hamilton 11 points behind, and Ferrari is top of the standings in terms of the constructors as well. So this championship has taken a massive turn here in Monaco. So that's been this video for today. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed that. It's been a fantastic result here for both myself and the team. Until the next race in Austria, I believe it is, I'll see you guys next time.